Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
They're usually only here for 5 or 10 minutes. They take ID from our workers and then they leave. And they ended up actually sitting between our two doors in the foyer for like 45 minutes. And we had no idea what was going on. And then sure enough, this big truck comes up with gang suppression unit on the side, and these big 6 guys come in, and it really was intimidating. And that's only when AHS and OHS came in to issue the order, where they're afraid that a guy 5'7" on a good day would kick his ass. Like, no, that's not what it was about. So it's total intimidation.
It's been terrible. We've been closed pretty much as we've been open since we bought the place. It was a year ago yesterday.
Oh boy, so right as the pandemic hit.
Yeah, it was 19 days before the pandemic happened. So it's been rough. It's the debt is just compiling and compiling. It's just, there's no end in sight.
I want to offer you guys some legal help. If you get a summons, if you guys get a ticket as a business or as individuals, we're going to make sure that you have the best legal representation that you have. We'll see what we can do about that closure order too. I mean, you guys seem to be doing okay in spite of it. But we're going to do that at no cost to you. You guys have already given the government $9,000 for VLTs that you don't have. You've already paid a fine that I don't think you deserved. And so we're going to do everything we can to help you. And again, that's at no cost to you. We'll raise the money through fightthefines.com.
Took me aside, probably took 20 minutes out of my day that I was trying to deal with customers. And then he said, also, I'm giving you this ticket. And pretty much everyone was like, why? What's going on? They ended up booing him out of the bar.
I know Marla's already sent the paperwork in so that you can fight it. What we're going to do for you is I'm going to offer you the help of an incredible litigation expert to fight your ticket in court at no cost to you. We'll fundraise through fightthefines.com. I want you to just work. You've been out of work, you're a student, you're a single mom, and you know the government has done enough to take money out of your pocket this year. I don't want them to take any more.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sheila Gunn Reid for Rebel News, and I'm here at Outlaws Taphouse in Calgary, and it is Monday afternoon.
Yes.
And it is bustling in here, and it's nice and normal. People are wearing masks if they want, but most people are not because they don't want. And I think that's why it brings us here today, is because you folks have run afoul of these pandemic lockdown restrictions. And I would suggest that there's been a bit of a concerted effort of government bullying and persecution directed at you guys.
Yes, absolutely. Especially at Carrie.
Carrie, you're going to do the talking?
I've been here when they've actually come in, and so it's been Alberta Health Services, Occupational Health Safety, Bylaw, Calgary Police, and even last Friday when they actually issued the closure notice, we even had the gang suppression unit come in, which I've never seen in here, but they're big guys and very intimidating. And they had the AHS guy come and talk to me about what we were doing wrong, which was a couple of people weren't here with masks. We weren't taking contact information because our contact information book was stolen. But at the same time, it's like, why do we have to be doing this sort of contact tracing when places like Walmart and Sobeys don't have to do it, right? So that's kind of where we were taking the stand. They issued our closure notice. I talked to Marla and we said, you know what, if we close, that's it, we're done. So you know what, if we're taking the lead from places like Hockey Central and Sylvan Lake and the Whistle Stop Diner and in Mirror, Alberta, and it just seems to be, this is, if we're going to do this and get people excited and wanting to rally about Canadian freedoms, this is the time to do it. Yeah.
Marla, can you tell me what the lockdown has been like for business?
It's been terrible. We've been closed pretty much as we've been open since we bought the place. It was a year ago yesterday.
Oh boy, so right as the pandemic hit.
Yeah, it was 19 days before the pandemic happened. So it's been rough. It's the debt is just compiling and compiling. It's just, there's no end in sight. And
But the government keeps saying, well, we have all these programs for them, so they should be satisfied to stay home.
we haven't qualified for anything. So we've had zero help. We've applied for all of the grants, any relaunch programs. We haven't applied or qualified for any of it due to the fact that we weren't open in 2019. So it's just struggling constantly. It just doesn't stop.
Yeah, it's in 2020. I know a bunch of bars that actually did open up in January and just prior to this, and we're all struggling because we can't get the grants, and we try and go back. And again, it's like, how do you even fill out some of these forms? They make it so that it's difficult to get the money from it. But yeah, they're always saying, oh well, we've got this $64 million that we're going to give out to everybody, but how do we even get involved in it? Rent reprieve, we've actually worked with our landlord, and we're working with our suppliers on a daily basis. We have debt from them. When you're closed for 2 months at a time, there's still utilities that you have to pay for. We still have rent on bar lines and all this stuff, and it just, you keep getting into debt. So if we get closed again, that's it. Like there's no way we'll be able to get out of it.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marla, but you don't strike me as the kind of lady who wants a handout to start with.
I don't. I'm fully capable of working until everything's paid for, and that would be easy to do if I didn't have to close at 10 o'clock at night. I'm not a restaurant. We don't make any money between 11 and 10 p.m. It's between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. that we make money with our live music.
We're not a restaurant. We are a live music venue. We have pool tables. We have games. We have jukebox. We have all that stuff that get people out to the bar. And otherwise, people will just only come for dinner and then leave. We want to keep people in here. We want a social atmosphere. That's the whole reason why we got into this in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, we hear a lot from the government. Well, just Uber Eats. That's fine. You guys can just stay afloat with Uber Eats. And I'm not sure, but I don't think that works with live music and pool.
No, it doesn't. And the Uber Eats doesn't work for us because our menu isn't based around takeout and delivery. It is based around people coming in and eating and socializing and drinking and dancing, and we're a live music venue. That's one of my biggest reasons why I opened this place, was to support the live music industry, and those guys haven't worked in a year and a half. Like, a lot of them had their stuff canceled in December of 2019. So it's just been a huge struggle. It's not fair. The rules aren't in place for everybody. It's Walmart can be open, Costco can be open, but the rest of us just have to struggle and just hope we can make it through. Well, that doesn't work for me.
I think one of the other things that the government should be at least open to is, how can we do certain things? How can we have people playing pool, right? Right now, they've just said, no, there's no entertainment. Well, what happens if you brought in your own cue? What happens if you're wiped down everything before you play it and wipe down after? And the same thing with live music. If you look at our stage, it's way in the back. We've got plexiglass in front. People could be singing or even just playing guitars or a keyboard just as live music, because that's really how it started in June of last year. There was a period there where people were just allowed to play instruments. And then some of the other venues that I know, they actually have a green room behind their stage, which is a door, and they put a piece of plexiglass across it, and they're actually singing inside there. Well, they're not even allowed to do that right now. And to me, I question, why is this giant, why would they say that you cannot do entertainment but not be open to other ways of doing the entertainment?
Yeah, I wonder if Jason Kenney thinks that pool is a contact sport. Like, it just seems strange.
Yeah.
Now, you were here when the long arm of the law came down. You have a closure notice. What is that exactly for?
I guess the closure notice really does say that because we didn't do our contact tracing, we didn't have everybody with masks on, and we were not doing the full social distancing, but we do have tables and chairs spread out. They said that because you're not adhering to that, and that we probably won't be doing the contact tracing according to what they want, the only way that they can basically stop us would be to close us until, according to the notice, it says until we get rid of the nuisance, I believe is the terminology. So to me, the nuisance must be like a rat running around here, but they just say that there's something wrong that needs to be corrected. So we've already filled out a reopening report document that says this is what we're going to be doing. And basically we need, when we write up this report, we actually have to adhere to what we're going to say. So in other words, if I write up a document that says, yes, we'll be doing contact tracing, we'll have a hostess at the front, we're not that type of restaurant, right? But if we don't do that, then for sure they have some sort of a legal ground to basically close us, because we said we would do one thing and we're not doing it. But here, we're not even submitting it at this point. I mean,
Well, because I asked them for full disclosure.
yes,
I can't fill out a report to them when I don't know the exact legalities of it all. If you can prove to me that social distancing and masks and live music and everything else is so deadly, well then I'll do the relaunch paperwork that they want us to do. But until they give me full disclosure on all the proof they have of how this is effective, I'm not filling out anything. So when I said that I wasn't going to fill it out till they gave me that, they came in and gave me a closure notice on my door.
And now you did do, I guess, contact tracing, even though you are not employed by the government as bylaw officers, yet you're doing bylaw work for some reason. This is extra work that restaurant owners who are already struggling are supposed to pick up just for free.
putting up plexiglass and doing all that. Yeah, exactly.
So you were doing contact tracing, but somebody snatched your contact tracing book, and now that book with everybody's names and addresses is out there. And this is something the government has not considered that could happen.
Yeah. No, it was. Again, it's how you go about doing the contact tracing, and again, if you go on the actual website, all it says is it's very vague on any of these rules. We just need to get one person's contact information from the table, but it doesn't specify you must go up and ask for them. You need to see their ID or anything like that. It just says that's all you need to do. So it's totally on the bar owner and the operator to figure out how to do these rules. And when you, I don't know if I can swear on camera, but when you go up and you're saying, can I have your contact information? You're told to f off. After about 1,000 times, you do f off. So you need to come up with different ways of doing it, and it made sense to put up a book there, and we tell people, yeah, when you come in, you can write it down. And most people did right away. You know, they see their jar of hand sanitizer, they sprayed their hands, they write their name in, and then go and sit down. And it's a shame that the book was stolen, but we even had another incident where someone supposedly had taken someone's phone number on there and then called her because the number was there. Now, again, different situations, and we didn't know how to handle that at the beginning. We could have put the book behind here and had everyone come up to the bar, but how do you do that when you're not given explicit details on how to do that? Yeah.
Now, when enforcement officials came here, you said they brought the gang squad. Do you have a problem with gang violence in your bar?
No, not at all. I mean, there are bikers that come in the bar, but anywhere they go, right? And
Your money's good.
absolutely, as good as anybody else's. And sometimes they'll come in and they'll be in their colors and their jacket or whatever. And as far as I can tell, no one was here that night. I think it might have been they came in. They're usually here, and I say usually because it's been more than a few times. They're usually only here for 5 or 10 minutes. They take ID from our workers, and then they leave. And they ended up actually sitting between our 2 doors in the foyer for like 45 minutes. And we had no idea what was going on. And then sure enough, this big truck comes up with gang suppression unit on the side, and these big 6 guys come in, and it really was intimidating. And that's only when AHS and OHS came in to issue the order. Were they afraid that a guy 5'7" on a good day would kick his ass? Like, no, that's not what it was about. So it's total intimidation. Yeah.
Now, that wasn't the only enforcement action. You've had a staff member here ticketed.
Yes. Allison, actually. This one.
Well, I'll talk to her after. I'd love to help her fight that ticket. What did she get that ticket for?
For not wearing a mask at work. She's exempt. Numerous of my staff are exempt. I'm also exempt, and I've had to show them my letter before they've asked to see it, which I found out later was not legal. I didn't have to show that, but when you're being pressured by, AGLC or AHS or whoever asked for it, I believe it was OH&S who asked for it the first time, and you show it because you're scared, right? And they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're bullies. They're bullying not just my business, but numerous other businesses. I got a call today from a guy in Rocky Mountain House that was just furious. Like the way they're going about stuff, it's not even personable. Like they can't come in and have a conversation. It's just automatic fines and you have to do this. And well, no, I don't. Unless you want to pay my bills, till you prove to me that all of this is effective, I'm not doing anything. I'm sick of being pushed around and it's just not fair.
Now, these rules are Alberta Health Services pandemic lockdown rules. They're an emergency health order, but they've threatened your liquor license. So these are two separate government agencies that have nothing to do with each other, and they are using one to bully you to react to the other.
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation. So when this all happened, it was December 12th, and it was the last day we were allowed to be open, and before we knew we'd be closed for at least a month. So for the people that were here, we knew wanted to see each other at Christmas, and obviously that wasn't going to happen. So it was a cold night. We had 6 other people stay after 11 o'clock, which was the official closure. But according to AH&S, again, on their website, it said as of the Sunday at 12:01 a.m., everyone had to be out of the bar. So there was that gray area for the hour. We figured, if they're here and they're not doing anything, we can actually get cabs for them, drive them home, whatever.
Doing things to keep them actually safe?
Yes, and that's even what AGLC says on the ProServe. And when you're going through it, you have to make sure that they are safe. So this was a way to keep them safe, and they came in. It was a raid. It was the same group again, minus the gang suppression. And they came in and they said, this is you guys shouldn't be doing this. And that was when AGLC came in and said, we are issuing you a liquor suspension, which we ended up going through the guidelines for. There's 55 pages of actual infractions and what they are, not for us, but in general, and what the fines are in certain stages. So as an example, it might be, you do something and you get a slap on the wrist or $100 fine, but if you do it again, maybe it's $1,000, you do it again, it's $5,000, that sort of thing. This was our first instance with getting any sort of fine, and they immediately did liquor suspension, which really only happens if you've done this repeatedly over and over and over again. So we felt totally like, what do you do with that situation? So we weren't sure if to close down. We didn't have a lawyer working with us at the time. We had to have a hearing on January 29th, which again, we would have been closed anyways because nothing was open. And then a week before, we were actually given the opportunity to just pay a $2,500 fine, which we immediately jumped on because we figured this makes the whole problem go away. And yeah, it was...
Made the problem and your money go away.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And we've heard other locations have now been in that same sort of situation. So is it a money grab? Are they not making enough money off their non-existent VLT revenue? Because they're closed right now. And I believe the stat is that the government loses $700 million a month on VLT revenue. And
they're sitting on our $9,000 that we gave them in
November to get our VLTs. And so we don't have our VLTs right now. And as far as we know, the rep that we were dealing with got laid off. And so now when I sent a letter or an email to them last week to ask, so what's the status of this? And they said, well, we're not doing anything until we're able to do this. But in the meantime, they have their own website, playalberta.com, which people are now gambling online, which is ridiculous, right? You could sit...
money, but we can't?
And you can sit at home and you can just rack up your credit card debt by just, that's a whole other issue.
Well, guys, I'm glad that you invited me here today because I want to offer you some legal help from a top-notch lawyer. As you know, we helped Chris at the whistle stop. We stood by him every step of the way, and I'm glad that he inspired you to do the same because I think Chris brought the government kicking and screaming to the decision to reopen, and I think you guys might do the same with the VLTs, with live music, and with pool, and maybe extend those operating hours a little bit longer because, as you know, the coronavirus, it waits outside for you.
At 10 o'clock, yes. Although we can do last pour at 10 o'clock, but we close at 11.
I want to offer you guys some legal help. If you get a summons, if you guys get a ticket as a business or as individuals, we're going to make sure that you have the best legal representation that you have. We'll see what we can do about that closure order too. You guys seem to be doing okay in spite of it. But we're going to do that at no cost to you. You guys have already given the government $9,000 for VLTs that you don't have. You've already paid a fine that I don't think you deserved, and so we're going to do everything we can to help you. And again, that's at no cost to you. We'll raise the money through fightthefines.com. What do you guys think of that?
That's amazing. Wow.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, when we say that we support small business, it's not just something that we say. We really put our money where our mouth is, and so we're glad to help you guys.
Thank you. That's amazing. Yeah. Tears up because it really is. It's been quite the financial burden for us, and we still want to employ staff. Even one of our staff members who was basically in a medical type of field, she's concerned about losing her job because she would be against AHS rules. So she's basically put on our leave of absence because she cannot be working here right now. So there's all these different stories that obviously the government doesn't take into account.
Allison, you are a waitress here at Outlaws, but this is a pretty normal place. However, nobody's wearing masks, which I think is actually pretty normal. And you received a lockdown ticket for what?
It was for not complying with Section 3, which is basically wearing a mask in a facility, a public place. I was here. There was a table here. What ended up happening, I was behind the bar actually, and Alberta Health Services came in, and I was putting away beers, and they said, "Can we talk about something?" And I said, "Yeah, no, sure, no problem." They said, can you put a mask on?" And I said, "Absolutely, no problem." Put a mask on. Continued talking with them. They went over a bunch of paperwork they gave me, and they're like, "We're going to be back in an hour. Will you still be here?" I said, "Sure." So I ended up waiting till about 4 o'clock. They ended up coming back. The gentleman gave me a bunch of paperwork that I needed to give to Marla, took me aside, probably took 20 minutes out of my day that I was trying to deal with customers. And then he said, "Also, I'm giving you this ticket." And pretty much everyone was like, "Why? What's going on?" They ended up booing him out of the bar. It was pretty crazy, and I ended up I had my mask on during the time when they came back, so there's a lot like that I just don't understand because it's saying that I didn't comply with what was asked, and I did. So I just don't really know.
What was the amount of that ticket?
It was $1,200.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it was $1,200. They didn't even give me a warning, just gave me a $1,200 ticket.
And you have not, I guess you haven't really been waiting tables because the government had closed Outlaws for, up until February.
Yeah, I've been off work off and on because I work another waitress job for about 4 months out of the 12 this year alone. And I'm a student, I'm a single mother as well. So it was pretty crazy.
It's gross that they gave you that ticket. I don't want you to pay that ticket. I want you to fight it. I know Marla's already sent the paperwork in so that you can fight it. What we're going to do for you is I'm going to offer you the help of an incredible litigation expert to fight your ticket in court at no cost to you. We'll fundraise through fightthefines.com. I want you to just work. You've been out of work. You're a student. You're a single mom. And the government has done enough to take money out of your pocket this year. I don't want them to take any more.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
None of the Alberta government's current lockdown restrictions make any sense whatsoever. Apparently, coronavirus gets more deadly after 10. They think pool is a contact sport, and somehow playing the guitar can give you the cough. I think it's ridiculous, and that's why we are helping Carrie and Marla and Allison fight their lockdown tickets. If you'd like to help us help them fight these lockdown tickets and just do what they do best, show people a good time, some hospitality, serve a few drinks to some willing customers, you can donate today at fightthefines.com. For Rebel News here at Outlaws Taphouse in Calgary, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you've received one of these outrageous and expensive lockdown tickets, we don't want you to pay it. We want you to fight it. Plead not guilty and send your lockdown ticket to us at fightthefines.com, and we will put you in touch with a top criminal lawyer at no cost to you. That's fightthefines.com.